My name's Glenn. Welcome to Veggie Patch Ideas. This is how to lay out your allotment or veggie patch. So if you've just taken on your first allotment or plan to take on your first allotment or start a vegetable patch at home, here are some things you need to take away. So grab your pen and paper. Let's get into it. So you're all excited about your first vegetable plot, and why wouldn't you be? It's a fantastic time and there's lots to do and lots to think about. So maybe the first thing to think about is, what do you want to grow? What do you want to grow more of? And do you have a certain goal in mind? So if it's purely peppers, tomatoes, chilies, everything from a warm garden, maybe you'll just be a summer gardener to start. So you can start planning your allotment around growing those type of vegetables. So it would be your greenhouses, your polytunnels and your low tunnels. I have a video which I'll link somewhere, maybe on the top or maybe in the description, on how to build a low tunnel, by the way. But if growing under glass or plastic is your thing and it's going to be your main thing, design your plot around growing under cover, for example. So a larger polytunnel, more greenhouses, less in the way of beds. However, if you're a more traditional gardener and you like your potatoes, carrots and onions, then go for smaller in the way of sheds, greenhouses and polytunnels, even if you have them at all, and focus on the outside areas. So what paths you're going to do, how you're going to divide the plot, and we'll show you how we divide our plot. It's very, very simple to do. You can just use grass beds, so just dig around bed sort of shape into the turf, and there's your bed, and it works out very, very well. So it depends the sort of style of gardening that you like, but like I said, there are certain considerations you need to take into, and we'll go through those now. Right, so let's start with the basics, and the basics are wind, sun and water. So which way does the wind come through your plot? So everyone has a certain area or pattern of wind that comes through their plot, through the geology of the ground. So we've got the hills over the background and the sea over there in this case, so which means the wind is funneled straight through the plot like this. So we have to plan for wind. Another one is, where does the sun set and rise? And in this case it's along the length of the plot, so it'll come right over the top. So we have to have everything in the orientation of looking at the sun or being pounded at the sun from one side. Another thing to consider is, especially this time of year, so we've had a lot of flooding in the UK, look to see how waterlogged your site will get in what areas, so any low spots. If you do get low spots in a certain type of the area, pop in raised beds, very raised beds if you are really soaked. So there are things to do. Plan that first, and then we'll get round to drawing what we need in sort of terms of beds. So now you've got your wind, sun and water, have a look on how you want to design the plot. So you want to break the wind as much as possible, because wind will affect growing. It's handy for cross-pollination, so you want to get your sweet corn to the edge of the windy side of the plant so it can cross-pollinate, and again with your fruit trees. But as a general rule, for beans, kales, salad crops, I don't like it too windy, so try and shelter them. When I was laying out the allotment, I sectioned it out into areas. So I quartered the plot up, and in the first quarter I wanted the polytunnel. I left a little bit of room, around 6 foot behind it, in case I got a greenhouse, which I now have. So it was just grass and now it's greenhouse, so plan ahead. And then second quarter was all the longer beds. Third quarter was the main potato bed. And then we had the small pallet collars in the final quarter. And room towards the back where the compost heap was is now a shed. So try and plan ahead. Also a good idea to have in mind what size beds you want to put in. So I put in 4 1 metre by 3 metre beds, and it's clearly on just the type of vegetables I like to grow. So a lot of kales, beans, onions, that type of thing, and I find this size bed perfect. We do then move on to different size beds, so I like to do a bit of everything and experiment. So got a smaller bed here and a much larger bed for the potatoes in the centre of the plot, well, to the front of the plot. And as you can see, as it goes, this is the angle of the sun. So the sun is always on every bed throughout the day. So plan your plot around the sun and around the wind. So this is the direction the wind comes in, blocked by the shed and the polytunnel, and the wind then rips through the site in this direction. And that's simply because we're on the coast here and the sea is only a few miles away. So basically just over that bush line. So that's how we do it for the sun and the wind. And if we look back on the plot from the shed, you can see all of the beds are now sheltered from the wind to a certain extent. After heavy rains like we had last night, as you can see, this plot does get waterlogged, but only in certain places. So the main bed, so the largest bed, is the worst affected. As you can see, it fills right up. This bed is generally used for potatoes earlier on in the season and left unused throughout winter. So I don't mind this bed getting hammered, getting flooded. It doesn't affect the growing of all the other crops. When we're looking at doing paving for allotment, it all depends on what you have to hand. So here we have a lot of wood chip, maybe far too much wood chip, but this is why I've done the plot in wood chip. As you can see, this time of year I dig it out and put fresh stuff in. The only thing I will say is do not scrimp on your weed-proof membrane. So use the stuff that has the blue or green lines running through it. You can tell that's quality stuff, rather than the jet black weed suppressant membrane. It just won't last. So as you can see, a good layer or 2 layers of weed-proof membrane, and it'll save you loads of hassle into the future. You could also look at doing grass paths. These are a lot easier on maintenance because all you need to do is mow them. As you can see, this has been hammered this year with the builds, but it will recover. I'll put slabs outside the shed and the greenhouse, but a grass path is fairly low maintenance as long as you've got a decent strimmer, and it's just another alternative to the wood chip paths. So what I would do differently if this was a home vegetable plot, I would almost certainly put slabs down. Keep the pathways nice and clear at all times. They don't get soggy, easy to maintain, and it's just really it's a job you do once and that's it, you forget about it. So I would slab the centre here if this was my home garden and not an allotment. But on the allotment, like I said, you've got to use what you've got to hand, either grass or wood chips, or dot the odd few slabs around. So these are the frames we use. They're simple kickboards staked into the ground. It just marks the area rather than raising the dirt level. However, as time goes by, the more compost you put in, they do raise, but with heavy rains it then sinks again, so it balances out. Also use these are for sugar snap peas and beans. I'm going to try it differently this year, so we're going in full sun, so the sun will go from there all the way to that side of the plot, so that the sugar snaps will be in full sun. We'll show you how to make this bed. Very simple to do. Let's get on with that now. Okay, so that's all done. Trellis is up. It's all screwed in. I've left a little gap so it doesn't sit directly onto the wood, so it doesn't rot out. This bed will be dug over, but we'll do the weed-proof membrane and wood chip on this side to show you how to finish off a raised bed. Even look at things like water butts. So place your water butt near the area where you're going to do the most watering. So in this case it's a polytunnel. As you can see, it's very, very close. And it's also next to where the new greenhouse will be. So it's all about proximity and working less. Towards the back of the plot, I also have made room for all my fruit bushes. These are black currants, gooseberries and raspberries. So they sit behind there and they don't take up hardly any room, so great place, and they're in full sun all day long. You also want to plan a seating area because you've got to enjoy what you're doing, so plan where you're going to sit. Somewhere nice and secluded always helps, so you can have a nice quiet cup of tea. Or if you want to sit on the front of your plot, plan for it, make room. Plan your whole plot around the seating area. Why not?